It's very similar to going to the gym. If you go to the gym and you want to build some bicep muscles, you go lift weights and you build them up. We're treating the underlying cause of incontinence, which in most cases is a muscle issue. One you want to strengthen, the other one you want to calm down. So that's basically the whole theory behind it, is that it treats the underlying cause without any side effects. We actually have 3 different products that treat this.
Are you done with being that pregnant or postpartum mom in the gym who is always stuck on the sidelines feeling horrible, saying, "How come no one ever told me this?" Are you ready to finally say no to a mom life filled with excess weight, injury, overwhelm, and fatigue? Then help is here. Welcome to the Strong Moms Fitness Podcast, where we dive deep into the information you need to be the strongest woman in and out of the gym, even if you are a mom. If you are done going through your pregnancy or postpartum fitness journey clueless and unprepared, if you are ready to commit and say yes to being that badass fit mom who is shredded and stronger than before the baby, well, listen up. Because this is where we talk about all of the things your doctor or trainer never told you about, so that you can achieve the body you want and take your athletic strength and performance to the next level. Get ready, because here's your host, Daisy Bravo.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Strong Moms Fitness Podcast. And I'm going to say this episode is probably the most unlike any other episodes that I've ever showcased on the Strong Moms Fitness Podcast. Not only is my next guest a male, but he's actually an older gentleman who is in medical device creation, medical device sales. He is the president and CEO of InControl Medical and has over 30 years in the success of medical sales products. And he has created a product that is helping women all over the US with issues like urge incontinence, stress incontinence, bowel incontinence, pain during sex, vaginal inability to orgasm. His products are amazing. And he did mention that he created the product initially to help his mom who was suffering from urge incontinence. He has created 3 products for the health, well-being, and quality of life for women of all ages. And so I really was excited to bring him on the show today. So stick with this episode because you are truly going to gain so much value from it. And I know you're going to want to get this product. Buzz is a salesperson, and I don't typically have sales individuals come on the show. But this product I thought was so important for us as women, especially if you've had a baby, you are premenopausal, even if you're in menopause, postmenopause, if you are a woman, you need this product. Because I believe in this product so much, I wanted to bring Buzz on the show to introduce this to you himself and explain how it works and how you can start to see results in as little as 30 days. So I want to welcome Buzz to the Strong Moms Fitness Podcast. Welcome today on the Strong Moms Fitness Podcast. And do you go by Buzz?
My full name is Herschel Quentin Peddicord III.
Wow, that's a long one.
That's a lot. Yeah, in first grade, you got to learn to spell this stuff. But my grandmother said I was always buzzing around the house, and it stuck. I really salute what you're doing because women really need to pay attention to their pelvic floor health. It has a lot to their lives today. You're young, but someday you're going to be 60, and what you do today for your pelvic floor is going to have a lot to do with how you live when you're 60.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, we live in the now as young people and don't think about future ramifications and long-term health. That's why I'm really glad to have you on the show today. And I'd love for you to start off and let everyone know how you got into this business and how you ended up working on a product that helps women's pelvic floors.
It's very 10 years ago, I wouldn't have ever thought I'd be doing this, but I've been in the medical device business for roughly 42 years. And I had a company that was a telemedicine company, and we built it up to the world's largest telemedicine company. And this was before telemedicine was cool. And a company called Honeywell bought it. And I went to see my mother, and she said, "If you're so smart, why don't you come up with something that'll stop me from having to get up 4 or 5 times in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom?" And my father said yes, and she wakes me up every time. So started the first time ever typed it in female urinary incontinence in a Google taskbar and was amazed at how many women are affected by urinary incontinence. So I started doing research on the subject and talked to physicians, physical therapists, scientists, engineers, pretty much anybody that talked to me. And basically, the two major types of urinary incontinence are stress urinary incontinence, which is caused by weak pelvic floor muscles. And then you've probably heard the term overactive bladder. The bladder is not really overactive. The bladder is just a vessel that collects urine. But there's a muscle that sits on top of the bladder called the detrusor muscle. And somewhere around pre-menopause, that muscle begins to lose its connection with the breath and decides it's going to squeeze whenever it wants to. And that's called urge incontinence, where you get this sudden urge, oh, I gotta go. And it could be while you're driving 80 miles an hour down the interstate, or a teacher in front of a group of students, ER nurse giving respiration to a patient, and all of a sudden that urge hits and you can't just always stop what you're doing. And to my knowledge, nobody has ever died from urinary incontinence, but it certainly changes the quality of women's lives. We've talked to grandmothers that are afraid to go visit their kids to see their grandkids because they're afraid they'll have an accident in their bed. They don't want to talk to women in their 50s who are in the dating pool again, that they're afraid to be intimate because they might have an accident. I think stress is about 70% of the market. The primary cause of stress is childbirth. The pelvic floor muscles act like they're holding up the organs inside. And during pregnancy, the baby grows and they get stretched out and they don't just snap back. The female urethra passes through those muscles. So normally, if you got strong muscles, if you got a cough, laugh, sneeze, jog, exercise, you can clip down on those muscles and stop the leak. But if the muscles are weak and they can't clip down, and that's when you leak. That one's pretty easy to cure. The urge incontinence usually comes later in life, but it's more severe because when that detrusor muscle squeezes, it empties the whole bladder. It's not a few drops or a dribble. That takes a little longer to fix, but it's also a muscle issue. So we designed a device that will treat and cure both. So that's pretty much me, how I got into female urinary incontinence.
I appreciate that. Not many people have died of incontinence, but I know a lot of people that have just died of embarrassment because they go to the gym after baby and start doing classes or boot camps, and they notice that they leave a puddle under them. And I can imagine that is just an extremely stressful and traumatic experience, and it really prevents women from doing the things that they love. And so I really like that you've got this device out. So I really want to focus our attention on the device and how it works. How is incontinence typically treated, and how is your product different from conventional treatments out there right now?
There are no side effects to start with. And that was when I first started this journey. I looked and there were medications for incontinence, but medications don't do anything for stress incontinence. They tended to just dull the detrusor muscle, but that also meant that it dulled their colon activity. So quite a few women suffered from the inability to have regular bowel movements, let's put it that way. And some of those medications actually increase a woman's chance of getting dementia by 50%. That's a heavy penalty to pay. And then there was surgery, but that was only for stress incontinence and did nothing for urge. But after 108,000 lawsuits against the manufacturers of the surgical procedure, that's gone away a good bit. And physical therapy is good, but it's good while you're undergoing the courses. But then what happens when the insurance runs out and your visits to the physical therapist disappear? So we wanted to create something that a woman could use in her home. Nobody has to know she has it. She can order it from our website. It comes in a nice brown box. There's a pretty box on the inside, but the outside is just plain brown. And use it at home. We recommend 10 minutes a day, 6 days a week. until you're dry, until you don't leak anymore. And then after using it, then you use it once or twice a week to maintain your gains. It's very similar to going to the gym. If you go to the gym and you want to build some bicep muscles, you go lift weights and you build them. If you quit going to the gym, the muscle will go away again. So we're treating the underlying cause of incontinence, which in most cases is a muscle issue. One you want to strengthen, the other one you want to calm down. So that's basically the whole theory behind it, is that it treats the underlying cause without any side effects. We actually have 3 different products that treat this. Our top of the line product is called Attain. Now, Attain treats both stress and urge incontinence and bowel incontinence. Sometimes women develop bowel incontinence after childbirth. Oh, that's another whole different ballgame now. So our device uses it's a transvaginal probe or rectal probe, depending on your condition. It inflates once it's inserted. Now, why do we inflate it? A couple of reasons. Number one, we have these neuromuscular stimulation devices on each side. These are surgical stainless steel, same stuff they make scalpels out of. All of our silicone is 100% medical grade silicone, so there's no phthalates or any of the bad stuff in there. So this, by inflating, it pushes these electrodes deep into the muscle wall, so you get a good motor point contraction, both the short and long muscle fibers. But it also acts as resistance. Again, going back to the gym, if you lift a barbell with no weights on it, you may feel good about yourself, but you're not going to build any muscle. So when the muscles contract around this probe, there's air pressure in there. So you're pushing against resistance. And then it pushes back. So just like lifting a barbell, you lift it over your head, you don't drop it on the floor. You have it come back down. So you're actually getting 2 exercises for the price of 1. So the other thing we do is we put a pressure sensor in here that will measure the pressure inside this balloon down to 1/100th of a pound per square. Obviously, if you squeeze against a balloon, you change the volume inside that balloon and it makes the pressure go up. So the more you can squeeze against it, the stronger your muscle is. Make sense? So on the device itself, and this is the handheld portion, we have a bar here. And each one of these little bars represents so many pounds of, so each time you get stronger, you go up a little higher on the bar. Now coming soon, we're actually going to be able to display actual muscle strength data. It sends 2 different algorithms. One algorithm is to strengthen those pelvic floor muscles automatically, so you're not trying to sit there, let me see if I've isolated the right muscles to squeeze. And then it also sends a different signal to the detrusor muscle, which is the one that surrounds the bladder, making it relax so you don't have that sudden urge. The next version, which is an app, will actually display real muscle strength. So the woman will be able to say, okay, I started out today, I exercised, and I could squeeze at 1.2 pounds per square inch. And the next day she could squeeze at 1.3 pounds per square. So for the first time, there's a device that actually measures pelvic floor muscle strength. So you'll actually see how you're doing. And that'll be available first quarter of next year, which goes along with the Attain device. So we're actually building medical devices based on science.
That's mind blowing. Are there any contraindications for using that? Is there any specific concerns? Should anyone stay away from something like that?
If you have active cancer, it's not going to do anything to make your cancer worse. That's a rule from about 30 years ago that the FDA has not given up on yet. You'll find there's quite a few of those. And it shouldn't be done while you're pregnant. After you deliver, now's when you want to use it, because that's when those muscles are stretched out. We're actually doing a study at Northwestern on post-delivery. It's a different product. I'll get to it. They're putting the women on that immediately to see if they can avoid them ever developing incontinence by immediately strengthening those pelvic floor muscles. And that product is called Apex. The Apex looks like the vibrator dildo. It's not. And it also has a pump. So it inflates, again, to give resistance to the squeezing. And the neuromuscular stimulation is pushing against the motor points. This is a 7-minute procedure. It is only for or stress urinary incontinence. But at Northwestern, a week after a woman delivers, she's getting one of these. And they're following her for a year to verify that no, she did not, in fact, ever develop incontinence because we strengthened those pelvic floor muscles immediately. And then the next product is even more interesting, and it came from Northwestern as well. We were testing out incontinence devices, and a doctor said, "You got another product here." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Are you familiar with female sexual dysfunction?" I said, "No." So I had to go back and fire up Google again. And sexual dysfunction is things like vaginal dryness or painful intercourse. Some women's muscles are so tight that penetration is painful. And then there's something called anorgasm, and that's women that just simply cannot have an orgasm. That's about 15% of the women in the U.S., which is a not insignificant number. So we went back to the drawing board and we took our Apex and added features to it. Now, this one definitely looks like a sex toy, but it's a medical device. We build all of our products, by the way, right here in Brookfield, Wisconsin. So everything's American made so we can control quality. So when a woman has an orgasm, her pelvic floor muscles spasm. The stronger the muscles, the stronger the orgasm, and the longer it lasts. So when we're making those muscles contract, our devices makes those muscles contract and relax, contract and relax. It's simulating what goes on during orgasm. So about 20% of the women who use our devices, let's just say they really enjoy using it. So we decided to step it up here. This device also inflates, so you get the same resistance and muscle building strength. Most people think that the clitoris is only about this big. In truth, it's 5 to 6 inches long. This much is on the outside. The 5 to 6 inches is on the inside, because once it goes inside, it then splits and runs down each side of the vaginal vault. Now, where it splits, we put this little tiny vibrator. So when you pump it up, it pushes it into that split and sends vibration down the inside too. And of course, we don't want to ignore the outside portion. So that's why we have this. So what you end up having is the muscles are getting strength and it's vibrating internally and externally, and it solves stress incontinence. And from what I understand, it's fun to use.
How do we find out what is the best piece of equipment? How do we find the right product for us?
Well, it almost is broken down by age. 40 and above, you run the risk of developing urge. Now, not everybody will develop urge, but a goodly portion will over time. Particularly over 60, it's very prominent. So for those people, I would recommend that they use the Attain, it's the only FDA cleared product for in-home use for stress, urge, and bowel incontinence. There's not any other one. If it's under 40, probably you're just dealing with stress. And again, stress can be caused by childbirth or high-impact exercise. A lot of runners develop stress incontinence because those pelvic organs, as you run, are pounding on those muscles and begin to stretch them out. And so sometimes, like marathons, at the end of the marathon, you see all kinds of booths offering pads. Pads are in arcade. They need to go away. Some of those pads take 500 years to decompose. It's just ridiculous. And I haven't met a woman yet that said she enjoys wearing a wet, smelly pad. So there's ways to get away from that. And it takes just a few minutes a day. Most women have 70% of the market is stress, stretched out pelvic floor muscles. Either this one or this one will cure that. 7 minutes a day usually takes 30 days. Bang, you don't leak. You use it once or twice a week. Oddly enough, this one tends to get used more than once or twice a week. But in fact, we offer both of these on our website. And the bottom one outsells the top one 10 to 1. One I get extra, it'd be sell for the same price. One I get some extra benefits out of it. Those are basically our products. We have a high-end product that cures all types of incontinence, including bowel. And then we have the product that cures just stress. And then we have the product that deals with sexual dysfunction as well. We sent the intensity down to the Kinsey Institute at the University of Indiana, and they gave us some women with anorgasmia. And all but 3 can't say that anymore.
Your products are dedicated to an older population of women. dealing with urge issues. Another concern of that population is the dryness and vaginal hypertrophy. Can these help prevent for a younger woman like myself?
Absolutely. See, a lot of people think that neuromuscular stimulation just strengthens muscles, but it also teaches muscles to relax and contract. So those women with vaginismus, where the muscles are too, it teaches them the muscles to relax. And that's how we deal with the painful hair portion. But this device also tightens and tones the vagina because you're building the muscle walls around it. Now the vagina is stronger and it's toned, shall we say. We have a lot of husbands that order intensity around Valentine's Day.
That's fascinating. So I think everyone needs to go out and get these products. They sound pretty revolutionary. So this was something that you went to the drawing board yourself. How did you get started with this?
A lot of physicians, a lot of female gynecologists and female urologists found that the male gynecologists didn't know as much as I thought they should, which is unfortunate. And then I said, okay, it sounds like it's just a muscle issue. How do we fix that? The algorithms that we use for the muscular stimulation are completely different from any other type of muscular stimulation. You've probably heard of e-stim devices. Sometimes athletes, if they have a muscle issue, they'll put electrodes on and e-stim it. Our algorithms are totally different because they're meant for the vagina, not for external. And after meeting with a lot of scientists, we did a lot of prototypes. We were fortunate to find some ladies who would test it, but you gotta, I'll show you something. This is the original test unit.
Wow.
It had pumped it out, but we were just trying to use, this was the electrodes to go back here. Volunteered to try that out. We found a few women who were brave enough and had enough trust to say, sure, I'll try it. And we got it to where it worked. And the first couple of times we didn't have the algorithm quite right. And I don't think it was overly pleasant. We got it tested and got it.
Great. Wonderful. I wanted for you to just touch on bowel incontinence for a little bit.
There's 16.7 million women who have bowel incontinence. Again, one of the major reasons is the pelvic floor muscles, and people don't realize how important it is to keep those toned and tight and ready to go. Your colon comes down right before it exits, and there's a muscle called the puborectalis that wraps around it, and it puts a kink in it. It pulls against that colon, and as fecal material comes down, it hits that kink, or that curve, if you will. Send a signal to the brain saying, hey, you need to be finding a bathroom because we're ready to eliminate your bowels. If that muscle gets weak, then that kink goes away, and it straightens up and down. Now there's nothing telling the brain that fecal material is about to exit. So it exits whether you want it to not by strengthening that puborectalis muscle.
Yeah, I know a lot of women that also are suffering from bowel incontinence after baby, and they just don't want to talk about it. So it's amazing that this device can help with that also. And like you said, it's archaic to walk around with a pad or some sort of protective something in your undergarments to avoid issues with incontinence. So I really want to thank you for creating a product like this and helping women. And I'm hoping that the word for something like this can get out a lot more. And I'm hoping that maybe something like this can be available in different urology offices or gynecology offices. Just such an amazing product. Thank you for going into all that detail. And I urge everyone to jump onto your website and learn more information about your product. And I'd love for you to take a moment here and explain how us regular Joes can go and buy your product. Do we need to go through a doctor's office, or can we get that right off your website?
We went back to the FDA and got permission to sell direct to consumer, which is much harder than get a product approved to a doctor's, because we had to redesign it so that a person with a sixth grade education could use it. And so you can go to InControlMedical.com and all of the products are there. All of the explanation I just gave you is there. I want to appreciate you for your efforts to educate people. I know lots of ladies that go out and get Botox because they don't want a wrinkle. That's all fine and good. But what about your pelvic floor? It's there and you need to take care of it.
Very true. Yeah. People think that if it can't be seen, if it's not out on the exterior, we can just pull the curtain over it. No one will notice. But we really do need to do some of that deep internal work that no one is seeing for long-term health. Absolutely.
Now, you've probably heard of pelvic organ prolapse, where organs literally begin to come out of the body. Now, that's a serious condition. And if you keep a strong pelvic floor, you won't ever get pelvic organ prolapse because it's being held in place. So there are benefits besides just stopping the leak.
Wonderful. Buzz, thank you for for taking the time to join me on the Strong Moms Fitness podcast. I'm sure your devices are going to be on everyone's Christmas list this year. Thank you so much for joining me today. All right. Wow, what an amazing interview with Buzz there. It's always so interesting. I think I've had 2 or 3 other gentlemen on the podcast. And of course, there are all these sort of young, buff in their prime gentlemen they're usually trainers or something like this. And just to have Buzz on here, who of course is a little older gentleman, but he definitely understands and appreciates the needs of women, making this product designed for his mom, but now his daughter is using it and seeing benefits. So really cool how this can help different generations. And a shout out to Buzz here for taking women's health and really respecting it. I know a lot of men don't really have that sort of respect or determination to help women out. So I really want to thank you. This has been actually super cool. I am also going to head to the website and get this product. I want to get all of them. Maybe I can get a package of 3 or something. So guys, if you have any questions about this, definitely check out Buzz's website. But also, if you do have a question, and because I am able to contact Buzz, if you have any specific questions about the product, let me know and I will reach out to him with your specific questions so we can get him to answer that. But thanks so much for joining me today on the Strong Moms Fitness podcast. I hope you've learned a lot, and I hope you're really going to take into account that the long-term health of our bladder, our pelvic floor, the vaginal wall are really important to our lifelong well-being and our lifelong quality of life. Do you want to be that 60 or 70-year-old woman who has some sort of vaginal atrophy, prolapse, bladder leakage issues? Can you imagine how that can affect your quality of life? And if you have a health savings account, a lot of times this device will be covered by that. Definitely look into a product like this. This is like lifelong health for ladies, like big time. So check that out. Thanks so much for joining me today on another episode of the Strong Moms Fitness Podcast.
Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you next time on the Strong Moms Fitness Podcast. Now remember, go subscribe so that you are the first to know as soon as new episodes drop. Also, be sure you don't miss out on your chance to win a free program of your choice from Strong Moms Fitness. All you have to do is leave a 5-star review. Screenshot it before you submit and send it to Daisy at strongmomsfitness.com. Your review helps other people find our show. And as a thank you, once a month, we choose the review that makes us all warm and tingly inside and award that lucky lady a free program of their choice. So do it now. It could be you. See you next time, you badass mom, you.